Good morning and welcome to the coverage of YCS Prague 2016. It's been a long wait for you guys, but now we're finally here to kick things off in 2016 with the first YCS of the season. My name is Oliver Gurman, I'm your host for the weekend, and I'm joined by the excellent Luke Withington.
Hey, how's it going?
Our resident strategy expert when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! Luke, I asked you yesterday, and I'm going to ask you again, how excited are you for this event?
I'm so excited. It's unbelievable.
No, you have to say it.
We've been waiting for such a long time.
That's true.
To have the event. And,
yes.
you know, even just a few hours this morning, I've been walking around looking at all the decks we have, and I couldn't contain it any longer. Here we are.
It seems we're not the only ones. Like, the chat, of course, has been going crazy.
Yeah.
And like, when are you guys starting? Keep in mind, we had to check every bag this morning, and the staff was really excellent, doing a fine job, not creating any like hold up. And we are already underway at 11:20, which is like kind of the normal time for a YCS this size. When I say this size, I'm talking about almost 1,000 players. That is up 50% from last year, where we had 600 players in Prague. So, wow, like we said, everybody's been waiting for this tournament for a long time.
Everyone's waiting and everyone's back.
Yeah. Well, the most surprising thing for me, honestly, is when I see people who are like, wow, I never knew Prague is such a nice city.
Yeah.
Like last year, I got that question because lots of guys have not been here before. So they're like, okay, this is the first time in Prague. Okay, it makes sense. But how did the stories from last year not spread that everybody's had a great time in this city? This is the best city in Europe, I'm telling you.
Yesterday, we were talking to some of the players during the deck profiles and the content you'll see later. And I always made sure to ask, you know, were you guys in Prague last year? And all the players we interviewed were like, oh yeah, we were in Prague last year. It was so great. We told everyone about it.
And it had a very interesting effect on the metagame this weekend. Because depending on what you're coming here for, you would play a different deck. I've had a couple of guys who are like, yeah, I'm here to have a really good time in Prague, and that means I'm not going to get that much sleep, and that means I'm going to play Cosmo. So that was really interesting logic we saw there. And there are some other guys who are like, yeah, I'm here for the event. I want to do well, so I'm going to play a deck with lots and lots of options, like the newer versions of the Pepe deck, so to speak.
So people are calling it Draco Pals.
Yeah. So those are, it was very interesting that you see like a kind of player with a certain set of a mindset basically going for a particular deck.
And I even saw someone playing the Monarch FTK deck, the Magical Explosion variant.
Yeah.
So he obviously wants to get things done quickly.
It's going to be an exciting weekend, guys. I'm telling you now. We've seen some guys who say, hey, I'm playing Monarchs and I got a creative version. I'm playing with an extra deck. When have you ever heard this before? I'm playing a creative deck. It plays an extra deck. It's always been the opposite. Like, I play this card in my extra deck. This weekend, I'm not playing an extra deck. I am playing an extra deck. All right. Having said all that, we have talked about creative deck choices for players. One guy last year made headlines, bringing Burning Abyss to the table when everybody else was like, hey, you should have like taken a flight with last year airlines, fly to this year, because Necros is the deck to beat this year.
Yeah, it was a sea of blue Necros cards.
And that player was Valen Leteurtre from France, who ended up winning the event with Burning Abyss. He's back to defend his title, and guess what he's playing?
He's playing Burning Abyss.
I love that. I love it. He's just sticking to his guns. He's like, that's my deck. I'm going to play with it again. His opponent in our round 1 feature match, let's take you guys to the feature match table, is Colin Fischer from the US of A. It's his first YCS, which is crazy considering how many YCS there are in the US. But he's been a long-time Yu-Gi-Oh fan. He's studying in Rome and made the trip together with some friends from Rome. And they said, okay, let's just go to Prague, have a good time, and play some Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, and ironically, he's actually starting out with a sea of monsters playing against Mermail.
True that, yeah. So this is really like a flashback of sorts. We see Mermail, that was the deck to beat, I don't know, like 3 years ago, roughly?
Yeah, I think about 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago. Yeah. And Burning Abyss, like 2 years ago, I would say, was one of the decks to beat. I don't want to get anything wrong.
Yeah.
If it's the first time for you guys, and if you've never been here, never watched the coverage, this is what we got for you. This is our nice setup. You got the names of the players on the bottom, of course, where you can also see who won which round and what deck they're going to play. In the middle of the screen, so to speak, is the field, of course. And then on the right-hand side, which is the most important feature, if you ask me, we got the cards of both players. What they're holding in hand. So this would be Valen's starting hand. And also what they got on the field. So we see an exciting start. I think these guys couldn't wait to get it on.
Yep.
So Valen starts with Farfa, Malebranche of the Burning Abyss.
Yep, so using that effect to special summon it from hand. And immediately we see Maxi being played there.
By Colin, yeah.
Yeah.
So both of these guys having some action going in their very first turn.
Yeah, so that's obviously limited the plays that you can do in Burning Abyss because you want to get all your special summons out of the way, get your Dantes on the field, but Maxi's going to stop that straight off. Now we're straight away seeing the new card that he didn't have last year, which is the Rhino,
right?
The Fiendish Rhino Warrior. And that stops other Fiends being destroyed, so it works really well with the Burning Abyss cards because it doesn't destroy all your other Burning Abyss cards when it's on the field.
So it's a nice new card for this deck.
Yep.
And how useful is it really? Like you say it doesn't interfere with your plans, basically.
Yeah, so it stops the card interfering with your plans, and also when it goes to the graveyard, you get to send another one of your Burning Abyss monsters from your deck to the graveyard, which just kind of adds triggers their effects, which adds to the consistency of the deck.
Right. Let's see what other cards Colin is holding on to that he can react with here. Most of these.
Yep. So he's going to start out straight away with.
Solemn Warning was
Solemn Warning to the Teus. Yeah. It was the Marksman that he discarded. So obviously he was trying to get rid of that back row with Marksman.
Right.
And that's kind of even worse for Colin now because Marksman was going to destroy the Solemn Warning, which already got used for Teus.
Right.
So that's kind of a.
He basically lost 2 cards. Yeah, he lost 2 cards.
Instead of just the one that he planned on losing,
right.
Yeah.
So Solemn Warning, really, really strong. And how big of an effect is it that Valen has just lost 2,000 life points? Do you think that's going to be a big deal here?
I think that if he plays it right here, he can just win right now.
Oh, that's a big statement.
Yeah.
All right, let's
he's got an open board. His opponent's got no trap cards. He's got no monsters. What do we see in Colin's hand? There's only a Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, so I guess that could probably stop, something. Depends when he's going to play it during the combination, and we'll see. Okay,
so you're saying Valen is going to go big, and he's going to be leading in life points in just a second.
Yeah, and even if he does use Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, it's probably going to be on a Dante, and Dante's still going to get its effect, and that's just not going to be a problem for Valen at all.
Right. How useful is the card in this particular matchup?
Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. I wouldn't say that useful, to be honest, because not the only effect that really activate on the field is Dante, and Dante doesn't really mind being destroyed.
Right. And when is this card really useful against what other decks?
So it's really good against Pendulum decks because obviously you can destroy their scales when their effects activate in the scales, and as we know, Pepe decks need the Pendulum scales. So yeah, he's just decided to stop there with 5,000 damage, but still he's leading. He's leading in life points here.
Yeah,
big
lead. Actually.
Let's see what Colin draws.
Right.
So he's got an instant fusion, which is nice. He's going to be able to make some plays with that, but still.
Dark Hole also one of these cards that's not that useful against Burning Abyss.
Yeah, because it's going to wipe his board, but he's going to get 2 Dante effects. He's going to get the Fiendish Rhino Warriors effect.
Yeah. I think Dark Hole was actually like unlimited in that time when all of these decks were popular that really don't mind getting their monsters destroyed.
Yeah.
Because the effect's triggering and you get cards back from the graveyard or you get to special summon something. So Dark Hole really not as useful as it used to be.
No, just overall not as useful as it used to be. But in some of the matchups, it's really, really good. Right. If you can get an Abyss Dweller out or something, then
second copy of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit for Colin. I think that's not the card he wanted to draw.
No, not really. I'm trying to think of what he possibly could do here. Let's have a look at his deck list and see what he's got in his extra deck.
Yeah, the big question was like, what new additions do these decks have? We were talking about the Fiendish Rhino Warrior for Valen, of course.
Yeah.
When it comes to Mermail, is there anything new that's...
Yeah, so the big card for them was Neptibus, which allows you to send one of your Atlanteans to the graveyard as a cost for its effect. You don't need to go on. It's like that is good enough in itself, just being able to send Dragoons.
Yeah. It's quite interesting, depending on the deck type, what qualifies as a good card.
Yeah.
In some cases, it sends a card to the graveyard, so it's good.
Yeah.
All right, so the Dark Hole has been played. That means Valen lost his field, but Dante now triggers, and that will allow him to return something to his hand.
Yeah, so let's see what he decides to add back here.
What's the obvious choice, in your opinion?
So yeah, he just needs Burning Abyss monsters so he can start making some Exceed plays.
Is there a point in time when it makes more sense to return a Fiendish Rhino Warrior to the hand rather than a
you can't
Burning
get
Abyss?
you can only get your Burning Abyss cards back to your
so
hand.
it doesn't like fit it in perfectly in the strategy, so to speak.
No, not exactly. If it was a Burning Abyss Rhino Warrior, then
it would be super crazy.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here's a suggestion for future cards that come out, guys.
Yeah. So we see the Rhino Warrior's effect sending Sir to the graveyard. Obviously, that was recently limited on the Forbidden Unlimited list because it's such a strong card, and it also was its target of its effect was Graph, the other card which was limited. And here we see the Instant Fusion responded directly with Max C. So again, Colin's not having a great time right now.
Yeah, it seems like Valen is really having like all the answers here.
So he's probably going to get Norden. And then he's going to have to special summon like 3 times this turn to be able to make anything of it.
Right.
He's going to have to play Norden. Norden's going to get a card from the graveyard. That's 2 special summons. And then he's going to have to maybe summon the Ghost Ogre and Snowbrights to make a synchro play. I guess if he... So if we
Let's bring
work
up
that out,
Norden for you guys in case you haven't seen that card before.
So actually, he's got a really good play here. He's going to be able to make Leo.
Okay, so much for that. Norden is not in our app.
Yeah, so now this is a big game changer here. So Leo was always known for being that card that Burning Abyss just couldn't deal with.
Right. And that has changed?
No, it's exactly the same. You can't really deal with Leo
so basically,
in the Burning Abyss deck.
Valen is holding on to like a lot of cards. He still cannot get rid of Leo.
Yeah, so there's a few cards that he is playing, Valen, that would have dealt with it. Like Bottomless, he's playing the Solemn Kit. He's playing 3 Horn of Heavens in the main deck as well.
He does hold on to a Dark Hole.
Yeah. So Valen does. Yeah. So that's a perfect way to deal with it. And yeah.
But
that's a shame.
How come he's first summoning something when he has Dark Hole? Is there a better way to deal with it?
It was. I think it was just because Leo.
That was still happening.
Leo hit the graph.
Right.
So now we're going to see.
So how many answers did he have?
He had. So the only answers.
2 copies of Dark Hole.
Yeah, 2 Dark Holes, 2 Dark Holes and a Regeki, but all the other ones were Trap. So
yeah. So not that quick to get rid of that card.
Yeah, and that's it. So that was
perfect answer.
Yeah, that was quite lucky that it had Dark Hole.
That was quite something. Yeah. So Dark Hole. I just said like a second ago that it's no longer that useful, but of course it does have its appliances, it does have its moments. That was one of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Very old card. It was released in one of the first sets.
It's one of those old but still gold cards. They really serve a purpose.
Yeah.
I also find it interesting that depending on the deck you're playing, Dark Hole can be better than Raigeki. Like when you have the 2 cards side by side, it's like it looks obvious that Raigeki is the better card. However,
in some scenarios,
Dark Hole can be better.
Yeah. So that was pretty standard game, I guess, with these 2 decks. It was fairly lucky that one of them managed to make Leo, but then the other one had the answer straight away. It's just a matter of seeing what these guys have in their side deck. So Valen's side deck's probably changed quite a lot since last year. He's got 3 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbits, 3 Cyber Dragon Cores for the Cosmo matchup.
Right.
And then a few more trap cards as well, Massive Restrict.
Quaking Mirror Force.
Quaking Mirror Force,
yeah. It's interesting that we see new iterations of Mirror Force.
Yeah.
I think this is the one that brings everything back to the deck, if I remember correctly. So it's if that's correct.
I'm trying to remember. I think it's the one that sets everything.
Right.
But I'm unsure. Let's have a quick check.
Well, other cards we see in Valen's side deck, of course, we got Skill Drain, Mask of Restrict, 3 copies of that.
And Anti-Spell Fragrance as well.
Anti-Spell Fragrance. Quite interesting, quite a useful side deck if you ask.
Yeah, Quaking Mirror Force is the one that sets all of your opponent's monsters.
Right.
Yeah, and they can't change their battle positions. So you just set all your opponent's monsters and then they just have to stay there.
All right. Another new card we see in the Mermail deck is Gameciel, the Kaiju, basically.
Yeah.
You said earlier, I'm surprised that he's running it in the main deck already rather than the side deck.
Yeah, so one of the big problems that Mermail have is that Cosmo is very strong against it. And, dealing with those ships is quite tough for them. And obviously the Kaijus deal with those really well because you can just tribute them and give your opponent a Kaiju, which isn't as good as a Dark Destroyer, let's say.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think he's playing that just because maybe he's really, really scared about playing Cosmo.
Right.
I can see him siding those out in games 2 and 3.
That's an interesting choice at the first event with a new format. Normally you see something like that at like the second or third event when people know like, okay, this is roughly the established metagame, so I need to be prepared for these particular decks. Yeah. I think it's a kind of a bold move really to go for this in the very first event.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where you can, I've always said that when you come into an event and you've got to play like 13 rounds or whatever, you can sometimes take that risk to play cards that you might not necessarily be able to use in every matchup. If you get lucky and only play in that matchup, then you're going to do really well.
Right. So we got the final number of players with all the late registrations, which is 985, which is, like I said, very
Almost
high number.
Yeah.
For a YCS that is not being held in Germany or Italy, that's huge. Even if it were in Germany or Italy, that would be a great number.
Yeah, good number. Yeah.
Yeah. 1,111 was the largest event last year in Bochum. All right. What do you make of the body language of these two guys? Valen seems to be one of these guys that are like, you cannot really fuss him.
Yeah, he seems absolutely calm, whereas Colin seems, it's his first YCS and he's on stream.
Yeah.
He might be a little more nervous than we're giving him credit for here.
Yeah, and that can actually play a role. Like you see sometimes players making mistakes.
Definitely.
Because they are not used to this situation, standing on the playing on the stream. And also, most of the time there's some light shining in their faces.
Yeah.
Feeling we are very familiar with.
Yep. We've got our pseudo son.
Yeah, so that also adds to the whole thing. And I've actually had that, like even experienced players saying, I don't want to play on the stream because all my friends are going to see if I mess up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things. But we've got those players that we see all the time on stream up in the top cut, like Marcelo Barberi and Peter Gross. Those guys, they're here. We might get them on later.
Yeah. Well, we'll certainly try.
Yeah.
And we got a couple of known players. We can like you just mentioned. Yeah. We've
so let's start out again.
Yeah. So Colin decided to let Valen go first. Yeah. Do you agree with that decision?
Generally, I think it's good if you're going to play hand traps.
Right.
Which Colin is. So we see a very different turn 1 that Valen is going to play this time because obviously he didn't have a max C to contend against.
Yeah, Colin doesn't really have anything to respond here, so he's just going to sit tight and watch Valen unfold.
Okay, so that's a reasonably good. Okay,
let's bring it back.
No, I was going to say it was reasonably good, and then I saw what was in Valen's hand. He's got 2 of the Solemn kits,
which is
Solemn Strike and Solemn Warning.
So you're saying this is reasonably broken?
It's it's pretty good. So Solemn Strike, you're going to pay 1,500 life points to negate a monster effect or an inherent summon, and that's going to stop Megalo's effect, which can get rid of Megalo, and also Warning can negate summons as well, or special summons.
It's interesting that he's playing 3 copies of that in his main deck together with Solemn Warning, so that's a lot of life points he has to pay.
Yeah, so that's always a question that some maybe inexperienced players always question. Why are you playing trap cards that aren't enough for you to be able to?
Yeah, you don't even have enough life points to pay for all these cards.
So this was really smart. He didn't set both because he knew that he only had to negate 1 of the big Mermail summons to make it worth it for him. So again, he's actually managed to do the same thing he did before, which was stop the marksman being useful when discarded.
Get a 2-for-1 out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And Megalo would have got an Abyss Sphere as well.
Right.
However, we do see a Deep Sea Diva searched by the Dragoons that got discarded.
Right.
Now, if he normal summons that, he's going to be able to special summon. Yeah, so he's going to go get the new card that helps in the middle. Or not, because of Effect Veiler. He would have been able to go get Neptibus.
Yeah, it's kind of one of these matches where you have to eat your words.
Yeah,
all the time because
I feel like
has all the answers apparently.
Yeah, during the first game, I kept saying things, and it was just like, no, that's not right.
But I gotta say, this situation reminds me of what happened last year, because actually we did have Valen on the stream twice. We did have him. You haven't been there, but maybe you did watch the stream. We had him in the very last round of Swiss on the first day, and he was very tired. Like his plays were kind of questionable. He was on the bubble. He had to win to make day 2, and there were a couple of plays where we weren't exactly sure is this the right way to play this. And when he ended up in the finals, we were like, this is somewhat surprising, considering that yesterday we saw a couple of mistakes there, or at least we identified them as mistakes. Yeah. And then in the finals, there was nothing that could touch him. He was completely in a
all over it.
Yeah, in a zone of his own, and easily like tearing the opponent apart in that game.
Okay, so let's see. So Abyss Dweller, very, very strong against Burning Abyss because all of their effects activate in their graveyard. So this turn, obviously, Burning Abyss are not going to be able to activate at all because of Abyss Dweller. That stops all effects that activate in the graveyard activating.
Right.
But it seems like Valen's just going to do a really simple move. Get rid of the tuner on his opponent's side of the field. Set that Solemn Strike, I think. Yeah, set the Solemn Strike, and that's it. He doesn't need to do it anymore. He's in a really nice position right now.
Yeah, it seems like he really understood the way his deck is working.
Yes.
When he has to step on the gas pedal and when he can just like lay back a little bit and wait.
Straight on the brakes. There's no need to do anything.
Right.
So let's see.
He second instant fusion from Colin.
So he's probably going to go get another Norden, but we'll see. We'll see if Valen decides to use the strike on the Norden or not. Now he's probably going to have a little think about this.
When does it make sense to use it? When doesn't it?
Well, it all depends on whether he thinks that his opponent's got enough stuff to be able to use Neptibus or not.
Here we go.
So yeah, so he decides to use it there. So now Colin still has a Neptibus here. He's not going to be able to do that much with it, to be honest.
Right. Valen hasn't actually taken damage from any attack so far, already down to 4,500.
Yep, so he's been paying some very, very expensive trap cards there.
But then again, like if you win before your life runs out, it doesn't really matter.
Yep. So he's going to send Dragoons, which allows him to go and get an Atlantean from his deck to his hand. That's Neptibus' actual effect. So you're paying the cost of sending Dragoons to the graveyard to get an Atlantean from your deck to your hand, and that again is the payment, which gets you another card to your hand.
Right.
But obviously you can only play two Dragoons, so that's reasonable, I guess. So let's see what he makes of it here.
What would be the best option for him here?
I don't know how many waters he's got in his graveyard, but maybe like Mooling Glacier or something, if he does have the right amount of waters, but I don't think he does.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's just going to go for Megalo. So Megalo's going to be able to discard the Atlanteans that he's just searched, and then obviously be summoned, get a Sphere, and there's no response that Valen has for this. And Megalo's quite big. It gets over, like Dante gets over it, but
it's still a good card.
Yeah, it allows him to keep going, whereas not doing anything doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah, this is some real knowledge you're
some
dropping
real knowledge,
here.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything, it doesn't get you anywhere.
Perfect strategy.
There we go.
But so here we go. So we see Megalo being summoned, and he's going to use both of the heavy infantry effects on the Burning Abyss monsters. So he's going to go and search that Abyss Sphere.
So that looks really, really good so far for Colin, but how good is it really?
Oh, he's not getting Abyss Sphere. Ah, okay, yeah, he's searching the, I forget the name of it, Abyss Scale of Mizuki.
Yeah, actually he's not playing any traps, by the way.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So Sphere has completely disappeared from this deck.
No. So
not even in the side deck.
The Scale allows you to stop, I think it's a spell card by sacrificing it from the field when they play the spell card.
Does it make sense to not play like a treacherous trap hole when you're not running any trap cards anyway?
Yeah, I guess even that is not enough, especially in a situation like this. He's not going to be happy if he sees a treacherous trap hole against Burning Abyss.
Right. Yeah. Okay. In this particular matchup, it doesn't make any sense. But isn't it a good card against other decks?
Nah.
Okay.
Not really.
That's a no.
It's a bit meh.
You don't have to. Yeah. You don't have to be like, let's see how we can sweeten this.
No, it's a bit meh.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good when you're playing Reflecia, Traptrix Reflecia, because you can use it in like a toolbox idea, but in Mermail it's not great.
Right.
In all honesty.
That's fine. All right. So Abyss Scale of the Mitsuchi is being played here.
So that's just going to give Megalo a bit of a boost, which I think is going to put him out of range of being able to be
when you say
destroyed by Dante.
Offer, that's a lot.
Yeah. So that's going to put it up to 3,200, I think. I think it gives you 800. Yeah.
Yeah, 800.
Yeah, so cool. So he's on 3,200. He's out of Dante range. Let's see how Valen tries to deal with this.
He's got a Seer and a Graph in hand.
Yeah, so he's got the most powerful Burning Abyss monsters. The two most powerful Burning Abyss monsters, which just got put on the Forbidden Limited list in his hand there.
Yeah.
So he's definitely going to be able to make some plays next turn. Here we go. So he decided not to...
What's the best card he could draw right here?
Probably Tour Guide. I think his Tour Guide's already gone. I remember it going earlier.
It's like one turn too late for the Maxi, right?
Oh, did he just draw Maxi?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, that's a bit rough. It would have been nice to have that for Megalo, but it's one of those things where, you know, his turn wouldn't have been extended even if he did like not have Maxi. You know, I mean, he extended as far as he could there, and there was only one special summon of Megalo anyway.
How good is Maxi in the current format?
I've seen. I thought it was to begin with. I thought it was quite good, but a lot of people are getting rid of it. Personally, I wouldn't play. There's just better cards to be played right now.
Right.
Like all the decks require you to play.
So it's also a bit meh.
Yeah. It's quite strange that cards that were like really, really good in the past are just getting, you know, not useful anymore.
Right.
Like we were talking about Dark Hole earlier.
Yep.
Dark Hole used to be crazy. It was even forbidden at one point.
Yeah. It's been a very good card at some point.
Yeah.
All right.
So we need to see how he's going to deal with this Megalo here. Now, a great option would be to overlay the 2 Dantes into F0 and take the Megalo away from him. If that's got to be his option, then he can do that.
Right. And do you see anything else that he could be doing?
So just like Dark Holes and Raigekis. That's obviously not going to destroy all of his monsters, but it's going to get rid of the equip spell. What else? He's not playing any Fire Lakes. He's not even siding Fire Lake.
I think we've never seen F0 being played on the stream, to be honest.
Oh, really? It's really relevant right now, especially with Phantom Knights. Phantom Knights utilize it quite a lot.
Right.
So it just allows you to.
You can use any 2 Exceed monsters of the same rank.
Yeah,
and then to bring it out.
Yeah. So that's another great way that he could get rid of Megalo there. He used Farfar, and Farfar's effect is when it's sent to the graveyard, you can temporarily banish one monster on the field. So that actually did more than you would think, because it actually got rid of the equip spell as well.
Yes, so that is, for this very short period of time, a 2-for-1, and when it comes back, it's a 1-for-1. So still a very good deal.
Yeah, and they're both on like reasonably high life points. It's not loads, but it's not, you know, sub 3,000.
Yeah.
Like under 3,000 life points is pretty dangerous territory nowadays.
That's quite interesting, yeah, how this has changed over the years. Because there was a time when 900 life points was a lot. Because it meant you could still pay for premature burial and nothing else mattered, basically.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's not like that anymore.
Yeah. If you had 900 life points, you'd have lost just then, because Barbar is going to go to the graveyard, and you're going to be able to use Barbar's effect that would inflict 900 damage to your opponent.
Right.
So yeah, so he's going to be able to chip away at him here. So you can banish up to 3 of your Burning Abyss monsters from your graveyard, and it deals 300 damage per monster.
Right. It's actually an important effect. I've seen a couple of games being finished that way, and it's especially useful, of course, during the extra turns, when the game is going to time.
Very, very useful.
Yeah. And
the reason it's so useful as well is because obviously you can summon it back and put it back in the graveyard multiple times and use that effect over and over again. And you've got a lot of Burning Abyss monsters.
So a couple of people have been pointing out that Colin might have made some mistakes here. Did you see any like questionable plays where you were like, okay, you could have played this differently and it would have been better the other way? Not exactly.
It's hard to say. I don't know what people were saying in chat, but it's one of those things. I think he made some okay choices. Like he got 2 searches off both the Dragoons, so he could have made different choices there.
Wow. Yeah. That's like a flurry of special summons, if there ever was one. Wow. So
that was actually really good, because what you managed to do is put 2 Downer Magicians on the field over the Dantes, and then when you exceed summon the F0, all of the materials under both the Downer Magicians go to the graveyard, and he's going to get all the Burning Abyss effects.
That's such a strong play from the veteran Valen Leteurtre. You can tell why this guy has won last year.
And he's just mastered the Burning Abyss deck. He was, he did it last year, and he's
quite honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he told us that he's been playing this deck all year long.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, if he's just like, yeah, that's my deck. I'm always going to play this, and nothing else.
So there's the Megalo that returns from Farfar's effect.
And at the time of this, Colin is holding onto a Mermail Abyssgunde, but I think he did draw into a second card, because he already held onto that one. Now, short clarification, what F0 is doing exactly.
Yeah, so F0 is really tough to get rid of. You've got to bounce it from the field to top of the deck, or bounce to hand, which puts it back in the extra deck. Because if it's going to be destroyed by a card effect, oh, okay, well, that's a great way to get rid of it as well. He's just going to negate its effect.